Okay, ladies, our next guest is the Tony Robbins of the Girlfriend Hour. Julie Cross is a motivational speaker, storyteller, author, mother, and workshop facilitator and podcast host. Her energy is effervescent, so much so that her nickname is Sparkles. Julie addresses crowds on a number of topics, from leadership skills to customer service and even hairdressing skills. She's an absolute force, and I cannot wait for her to share her story with you. Let's welcome to the Girlfriend Hour couch the wonderful, the hilarious, the absolutely golden Julie Cross.
Thank you for that lovely welcome. Thank you, Shar.
My pleasure.
Oh, gosh, I was listening to myself thinking, oh, you better be good, girl.
Well, you got the sparkles going, baby. So
Yeah, I did. I brought the big guns out for you.
Julie, tell us about your personal journey, because it's been quite an interesting one.
It has been an interesting one. And so I guess with my work, I left school at 16 because, back then we didn't finish school. We just went out hard and fast, didn't we? Remember that? You just left school and got a job. There was none of this, I needed a gap year to find myself, a couple of different uni degrees while you waited for your passion to drop on you. We just left school and got a job. Grew up in regional Queensland. Started my hairdressing and loved my hairdressing, and then went into educating in the hairdressing industry. And I had this love for training and working from the stage, and started to add lots of personal development stories in that sort of space, and realised that's what I wanted to do. So I got married, fell pregnant with my first son, resigned from my job, and when Jack was 6 months old, I started a business, because that's how we roll, ladies, isn't it? Yeah. So I read a book called Speak and Grow Rich, and thought, not to be confused with Think and Grow Rich, Speak and Grow Rich, and pretty much followed that and started my speaking business. And so it sort of started there, and it's 25 years ago this year. So I started in the hairdressing industry because I wasn't famous. I hadn't won a gold medal. I, didn't have a near-death experience. I hadn't written a book then. I hadn't made $1 million. So why would anyone want to listen to me? So I started in the hairdressing industry, would go to salons, bought a whiteboard, would walk into the salon, put up the whiteboard, had an audience of 3. I acted like I was Oprah on a stage of millions. And then it just progressed. And then, of course, as you know, Shar, I had the big story.
Yes.
So then 10 years into having my business, I had my big story where my husband had a stroke. My second son was diagnosed with autism. Then 4 years later, my husband passed away. So suddenly, I wanted to be an inspirational speaker, but I remember looking up and going, I just wanted to talk about it, not actually be one, not be inspiring, not have the big story, but got the big story. So then my message evolved, my audiences evolved. And lucky me, because I find myself on the couch here today with you.
Aww.
So you never know. Thank you.
Pleasure. What have been some of the influential experiences you've had in your time, Julie?
Oh, well, obviously, losing my husband and going through the journey of autism and all of that was a massive influential experience, because it's one thing to talk about all of these concepts I talk about, but suddenly I had to walk the walk on them and put them into practice. And so obviously that was a major moment.
That's actually interesting you say that, because it's really easy to talk the talk, isn't it? But then when you need to walk the walk,
that's, right.
That's where the rubber hits the road, or the heels hit the
That's
the path.
exactly right.
In our case.
Yeah, and absolutely. And it was like, and I did wonder that everything I'd read and everything I'd been through had brought me to that moment to deal with that journey from then on. And it doesn't mean you do it well. It's messy. It's overwhelming. And I think that, we forget that life's messy. Life gets messy. It gets uncomfortable. And you just keep getting up and doing your best. And so, obviously that would be my biggest moment for me of, and then you flow where life takes you. I'm a flower, and so you flow then where life takes you, and pretty much that's what I've done.
Amazing. And Julie, in your line of work, we've tried to launch this TV show 3 times, and the pandemic has stopped us from doing that. How did it affect your line of work?
Well, funnily enough, we were all with my speaking colleagues at a conference for speakers that weekend in March down in South Australia, and we're all getting the messages the same, like cancelling our years, cancelling the rest of our lives, it felt like. And so initially we were like, cheers, wonder what we're going to do, have a happy time. Then we get home and I had a pandemic panic. Oh, we're all going to die. I'm never going to work again. And then I'm like, just relax. And then everyone's doing a pivot. Everyone had all this pivot going on. I'm like, I don't know where to pivot. So I had a pandemic pause and I just took a breath, because I think that, and maybe not just as women, but there's this pressure to chase after what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
But maybe that's not right for me.
Correct.
So let me be brave enough, be courageous enough to stop, to breathe, have a pause, and then you do what's right for you, Julie. So I did do some Zooms.
Give her girlfriend a half of that.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, everyone else was setting up studios and all that sort of thing, and I thought, well, I'm not going to race out and do that. And so I did do Zooms, of course, but I also used the time to write my second book. So I wrote that. And I also, listening to these wonderful ladies earlier when you talk about our finances, I also realised that I had done enough, and the pandemic taught me that I had done enough in all those years of working hard to put something aside so that I could pause and I could breathe. And that was a great lesson for me too, to realise that that's so important, and I had done that, so that I could just breathe through that time. And now we are back, baby.
Woo!
We are back. So
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Julie, what are your thoughts around imposter syndrome? Have you ever experienced it? And if not, what are your thoughts around it?
my
Because so
gosh.
many do.
Absolutely. And absolutely I have. I sit in a meeting with these big corporate organisations with these people with all of these degrees, and here I am, selling my speaking, and I'm putting this big number on it. And there are moments my ego pops up, well, who do you think you are? And I actually call my book that, Who Do You Think You Are? Because so many moments of, who do you think you are? You haven't even finished high school. You're from the
Welcome
bush.
to the club.
Yeah, and so what have you got to offer? And then, my soul and my heart reminds me, Julie, they came to you, remember they rang you, they must what you've got to offer. You're a human sharing your human experience with fellow humans. You do it from the heart, you do what you know, and I work with people that want to work with me. I'm not here to convince people to work with me that don't want to work with me.
100%.
So it's just I talk myself through it and remind myself of who I am and how unique and special we all are. And that the world needs all of us to show up with our uniqueness. Yeah.
Please put that on a cup by Julie Cross. Love it, love it, love it. Now, this beautiful, blessed journey you're going through with your delicious son, Thomas.
Yeah.
I love reading the antics of Thomas. Take us through that.
Oh, my gosh. So Thomas was diagnosed with autism at 4, and remembering I had a husband at home who had just had a stroke and couldn't talk, and then Thomas couldn't talk, and so they were both in therapy trying to talk to each other, and I was needing therapy trying not to lose my other son and trying to educate myself about autism and how it presents in the world. So it has been a journey. Autism took me to the worst of myself so I may discover the best of myself. I learnt so much about myself along the way. Thomas has made us laugh. He has brought me to my knees. He has made me cry. He has smashed so many windows and walls. He taught me to look through the broken windows of my life to the view beyond, because there's always a view beyond. And he has grown up into the most incredible young man. Out of the chaos, there is possibility. If you'd told me that this young man that couldn't talk, and when he could talk, all he did was swear, running around breaking everything, because when he lost his dad, his grief was so deep. If you'd told me that he would one day be driving a car and have his own job and be independent, I'm embarrassed to say I couldn't see it. But out of the chaos, anything is possible. And Thomas teaches me about inclusion and celebrating diversity. What a gift he is. He is a burst of colour in a very beige world. So lucky me that I have Thomas. Yeah.
God, I love you. Where does this glass half full burst of life energy, where does it come from?
When I read that question, I was like, the only thing I can think of is it comes from being happy being you, because I have just relaxed into who I am and I'm okay with who I am. And I think that and I don't think the world's out to get me. I don't overanalyze why did I have all this stuff happen. Yes, I have pity parties. I get sad. I get angry. I get frustrated. I do all of those things. But in the end, I know the universe isn't out to get me. The universe is there to support me. You know, when my husband left this world, he took my hand and he walked me up onto a bigger stage. And he said, now, Mouse, it's your time. And so we can choose to see that if we want. Or we can choose to say, well, poor me, you know, why did I have to go through all of this? Everyone's going to go through something. This is living life. This is what life looks like. This is flatlining. I want to live life. I want to feel it. And that means that we have to do all of it. We have to do the highs and the lows. And because of the depths of despair I've been to, I believe I reached the heights of joy that some people never get to, because we bounce back to that. And so what a gift is that? What a gift.
Beautiful. Now, you run a workshop called Women Making It Work. Take us through that.
Oh, so, you know, a special, obviously, I love speaking to female audiences. I mean, I do men. I don't do men. I mean, I have men come to my event, sorry. I do men, but I don't. But anyway.
Not in the workshop.
No.
That's during the break.
But I do speak to a lot of predominantly female audiences, and I love that audience. But with this particular workshop, I first of all take women to the relationship with themselves, because our relationship with ourselves will affect every other relationship we have in our life. It will affect how we lead, it will affect how we partner, it'll affect how we team, how we parent. So we've got to start there first. And we live in a society that keeps challenging this relationship we have with ourselves by making us compare each other, you know, ourselves to somebody else. And the minute we do that, we lose us, we lose our uniqueness. So I always start there. And then we talk about the balance, because as women, you were talking about it before, we have so much that we're balancing all the time. You know, and don't compare. If I was to compare my success to Oprah, I wouldn't get out of bed. I'd feel like a miserable failure. Yeah. But I don't have to. I let Oprah do Oprah and I'll do me.
Correct.
And so we all have a circle of influence. And I remember in the midst of my worst personal challenges, you know, I still had to work because I was now the major income earner, but I couldn't do lots of work. I had grief, I had autism. And I'd look at other people on social media. They're going to America, are they? Well, why aren't I going to America? I could go to America and speak. Why not me? And the universe would whisper to me, and when would you fit that in? You do what you're doing now, Julie. You take care of what's important. So what I realised is, you know, when a few years ago, I got awarded my CSP, the highest designation awarded to speakers recognised here and internationally. It took me 20 years. Some speakers do it in 3. But do I feel bad about that? No. I was looking after what was important personally. My children, you know, grief, while other speakers were doing what they were professionally. And then as soon as it was my time, the universe said, all right, now off you go.
What are you doing still sitting here?
We always had your back. So as soon as Jack left home, my speaking business just exploded. And, you know, so we've got to trust. Yes. I think we're always racing to get somewhere when we really just have to be where we are and just bring the best of yourself to that, because that's what's creating your future. And so I've just had that example over and over again.
Love that.
Thank you.
Julian, as we wrap up in this part anyway, I'd love to ask you, the support network that you would have had from your girlfriends over the years would have been amazing. Why are they so special?
Oh, look, I could not have done it without my girlfriends. You know, my girlfriends, and even, you know, more so than my family. And that's okay, because everyone shows up in different ways at different times. And right then I needed my girlfriends. And, you know, they were showing up for Jack when I couldn't get to rugby games because of Thomas and all those sorts of things. They showed up in many ways. They showed up in looking after my kids so I could get on a stage somewhere and speak. They showed up like that. They showed up by keeping me humble if my ego was getting a little out of control. Thomas does that for me too, just quietly. You know, but I have to say, listen to your girlfriends too, because when I started this business 25 years ago, I wore my normal corporate dress. And then a girlfriend at my...
Why'd you look at me? I'm not corporate.
No, sorry, you're not. I looked at you and then I thought, well, it's not her. But yeah, normal corporate dress out there somewhere. I started like that too. And then one of my girlfriends at our little play group, you know, we take our babies to baby group with all the other mothers club. She said to me, Julie, I've just seen a sparkle shirt hanging up at this shop. And this is when no sequins were anywhere. And she said, at the shop down at the local shopping centre, and she said, it reminded me of you and your personality. You should wear sequins. Oh. So, you know, I've heard them whispering, saying, sequins won't work, you shouldn't wear sequins. That was the universe whispering through her, go wear sequins. You know, listen to your girlfriends, listen to the whispers. That was one of the best decisions I ever made, to wear sequins.
Mrs. Sparkles at her best. So we're now going to have a little bit of a fun section. Okay, you ready? I've missed travel so much. The excitement, the anticipation, the adventure. I just love exploring and taking the sights and sounds. Anyone else feel like that? This next segment is called Time Out. I'll be quizzing Julie on her travel experiences. So grab a pen, as they might have some great tips to share for your next breakaway. Welcome to Time Out. Are you ready for some rapid fire?
All right,
let's keep it clean as we can. Favourite city?
London.
Most romantic travel memory that you can share on a show?
Oh, this made me laugh. So I would just have to say, on a felucca on the Nile, the sun is setting, the big dunes in the background with the camel train coming past. It was a romantic moment, but I had no one to be romantic with. But if I had, there would have been nice.
What can't you travel without?
My Kindle and my sequins.
Oh, best meal ever?
Pass.
Lost low luggage?
Never.
Never. Most memorable mid-air moment?
Well, it was when I was on a plane and I looked across at this very handsome man sitting 2 seats up, and I realised that I hadn't yet put on my bucket list to join the Mile High Club, but I put it on. It's still on my bucket list.
What is your top travel bucket list?
My big top one now, to take my kid. I've been to Africa twice, and I would love to take my boys back to Africa.
What's been the most interesting item of food you've ever eaten whilst travelling?
Pass. I couldn't think of it.
Do you want to call a friend? No. Which country has the friendliest people?
Africa.
Toilets, squat or Western?
Squat, come on, people. That's the natural way to do it. Squat.
Yes, our first squatter in this season. I knew I liked you. Bidet or no bidet?
No bidet.
No bidet.
No.
What's your favourite foreign word that you can use on the show?
Shar d'Apois. Very beautiful Vietnamese.
Very beautiful. And you looked at me. What's the worst piece of travel advice you've ever received?
To be careful. Just be careful. I want to say, go get them, girl. Go have fun. Go and embrace the world. Go
Amazing.
Yeah.
Where would you most like to live in the world?
I'd love to go and live in Bali for some time.
That's on my list. What's your top travel tip?
Trust. And don't go out there thinking that everybody's out to rip us off. I just trust and open your heart. Trust.
What's your biggest first world problem?
My biggest, buttons have fall off jackets. Sew the buttons on, people.
Strict schedule or go with the flow? I already know the answer. What do you miss most when you're travelling?
My kids.
Your kids,
Yeah.
Okay. And do you look at all the photos you've taken on a trip when you get home?
All the time. Why? I relive the memories.
Amazing. Julie, you've been absolutely sensational on our show today. Give her a huge, big, sparkly applause. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you loving the Girlfriend Hour so far? We hope you've been inspired by the wonderful women you've seen sharing their stories. Do you have an inspiring story of your own to share? We're looking for magic just like yours. Be featured in Feminescence magazine and start your own exciting media journey. Join many other fabulous women who've been profiled in Feminescence magazine. Unlock access to an international audience, propel your career and expand your network. Make today the day you back yourself. What are you waiting for? Visit feminescence.com.au to find out more.